Hi, I'm Mike Brampton.
And my name is Julian Ho.
Welcome to Veterinary Ramblings. Right, here we go. We've got Jon coming in. So let's, I've got a feeling a lot of this is going to be me learning about him. So let's get Jon in.
This is it.
Oh, he is live. He is live now.
Yes.
Great.
What a background. Where did you get that from?
My wife painted it.
Wow.
She's a brilliant artist. Really fantastic artist.
We sat down and decided because there's so many different types of dragons, and some of them look very nasty and some of them look quite frankly naff. So we sat down with a small piece of paper and with her ability to draw, and chose what bits and pieces would go on a dragon that we would both like.
Mate, Jon, I know we've only just met, but it's not cool getting your wife to decorate your man cave. You have to do that yourself.
That's the kitchen.
That's
the kitchen.
That's the kitchen.
Yeah.
Wow. I can't wait to see the tattoo. Come on, let's show us the tattoo.
I shy away from needles, which makes work very difficult.
Not really. It just depends on which end you're on, doesn't it?
Well, I always prefer to be on the right end.
Yeah. Well, that's what I find. I had a patient come and sit in the vaccination clinic the other day, and they said, I hate needles. I'm rubbish with needles. I said, that's all right. I'm brilliant. So long as I get the end right. It really hurts if you push your thumb through.
Oh, yes.
There we go. That's a great introduction. Jon, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you, my friend.
Nice to meet you too.
So for listeners rather than for viewers, we're blown away by this because in Jon's background there is the most amazing painting of a dragon, red Welsh dragon.
Great big red dragon on a lovely orange background. It's dramatic.
Absolutely incredible. And by Jon's left elbow there is a small but serviceable variety of rums.
Yes.
Because Jon is an alcohol. No, Jon is Jon is a
functional alcoholic.
A rum connoisseur.
Well, rum drinker. I wouldn't say necessarily connoisseur. I know some information, which will doubtless come to light during the evening. But yes, I developed an interest at a young age, 18, obviously.
Oh.
And I've visited a couple of rum distilleries around the world, just because they happen to be there, and to try their wares.
And you happen to be in those places as well.
I did, yes, which made visiting them easier.
It absolutely, a lot easier. If you try and visit a rum distillery in Jamaica and you're in Tooting, it's tricky.
It falls down, as do I.
As do you after a few tastings.
Yeah.
So should we move on to the rum in a mo, shall we?
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're going to be insensible.
Can I move on to the rum? I was going to have gin tonight.
You have to. I'm going to have a glass of wine to start with.
Oh, okay.
Little starter.
Oh, this is going to get messy tonight, isn't it?
It's aperitif. I'm going to take some paracetamol before going to bed. Other pain relievers are available, but not to me because they're out of reach in the morning when I can't move.
Yeah.
So Jon, I'm going to ask you some questions to which I already know the answer because we were at college together.
We were.
Qualified 25 years ago this year.
That's a quarter of a century.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
Yeah. Amazing when we're neither of us all that much older than 25.
Indeed. And it's amazing you managed to fit in a first degree first.
Yeah, right, we'll leave that, shall we?
Yeah, I think he did. I've heard claims he did that when he was 15. Do you still practice vetting? Are you a vet or what?
I am a vet and have been through the whole period. I've only had 2 jobs in that 25 years.
Wow.
And both of them are in the same town.
Okay.
Moved down to South Wales straight from college.
Right.
Well, after a little surgery post college,
Mm-hmm.
And first job down here, lots of hills, nice place to live. and stayed basically. The RSPCA clinic opened in 2005, and the surgery I was at had some links to the RSPCA local branch. We've been working with them for a number of years, and we supplied a vet on a service contract. So I was one of the vets that was working in the clinic.
Can I quickly say, Jon, RSPCA, for our American overseas listeners, is the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. So it's a very big charity over here. I'm sure there are equivalents in America, aren't there?
There are. They're usually the SPCA, so they just drop the Royal in a number of countries.
Okay. That's brilliant. Thanks, Jon. So carry on. So you were working there, presumably as a small animal vet?
Yes, I've only ever done small animals. Even the larger dogs frighten me sometimes.
Says the man with a 4-foot sized dragon right on his shoulders. Right, okay.
Yeah, but he's been sedated for years.
He doesn't look sedated. He doesn't look sedated. He reminds me of the lion.
I think in heraldic terms, that's a dragon rampant, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
But good job my head's in the way then.
Yeah. Well, to protect us. Yeah, to protect us and our listeners. Yeah. Carry on, Jon. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Not a problem. So after a few years of that, I moved into RSPCA employ to run the clinic full time as sole veterinary surgeon, and 13 years later, there I still am.
Wow! Clearly enjoying it.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic job on a number of levels. Being sole vet is always nice if you have the confidence to do it. Mm-hmm. You can make your own decisions. You don't have to spend half an hour trying to read somebody else's handwriting or work out what they've been trying to do with this animal, because, well, sometimes I do, but that's only because it's me.
That's if you start the rum early in the morning, isn't it?
Yeah, only in the morning rums, yes. Right. The charity side of things is both a challenge and a reward. We work with two work streams: owned animals for people that qualify to come to the clinic, and also animals that come through the inspectorate, all the strays and waifs and so on. And in a lot of cases, you're the only vet that animal's ever going to see, either because it is a stray and needs help, or the owners have limited funds and veterinary fees beyond the basics are beyond them. Mm-hmm. So it's working very differently. There's the concept of shelter medicine, which I'm sure you yourselves have come across on a number of occasions.
Well, I have. I'm not sure whether Mike will have come to.
What exactly do you mean by shelter medicine, Jon?
Shelter medicine, it basically comes initially from animal shelters, where there are restricted funds to sort out everything. Mm-hmm. And you basically have to work in a way that gives the most benefits to the most animals within those resources that you have.
Right.
So you don't have an MRI scanner to check and see what's going on inside the animal. Depending on which establishment you're at, you have restricted toys to play with and restricted numbers of drugs to use.
Right, okay.
And within that framework, you have to then do your best for all of those animals and help as many as you can within that framework.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that surely on your day-to-day basis, that must lead to some very difficult decisions.
It does. And making those difficult decisions, it's not a job for everybody. Mm-hmm. You have to have confidence in your decisions, even more so than as a as a standard vet. And if you take the obvious difficult decisions of euthanasia as a standard veterinary surgeon, that's a difficult conversation to have with the owners at any point. When you're looking at restricted funds and so on for owned animals, then that can make it more difficult. But in some ways, it can make it a little bit easier as well, because you're there, you can empathize with the owner, you're well aware of the whole circumstance, and you can help them come to whichever decision they're able to make.
Right.
So yes, it's certainly, you have to have difficult discussions, and certainly these are discussions that some vets seem to be avoiding taking.
Right.
I know exactly what you mean, and it is, as a standard vet, if I can call myself that.
Surely not.
It can be very difficult when you can tell that the owner has funds enough to be able to afford private veterinary care, but still limited to some degree. And sometimes our job, I think, is in saying to the owners, look, yes, you can have this done, but is not your £5,000 better spent on other things in life? And it's providing them that realism of saying, look, you can throw money at the problem, you can spend a lot of money, but that may only improve your pet's quality of life for a certain period of time.
For sure.
And you're often faced with a question: what would you do in that situation?
Yeah.
And I think all I can do is to be honest when I'm asked that. And I say, well, I would not perhaps go for this because I think the money is a huge amount, and clearly you have other priorities for that money. And I don't think it's fair to put yourself in any sort of penury to do what you perceive to be the right thing for your dog, when actually letting it have a shorter but happy quality of life is acceptable.
Yeah.
And it's probably, it's easier for us, I think, when we've had our aforementioned 25 years of experience, than it is for the new grads coming out who have been taught that actually the way to work up a case is to do a clinical examination, to do urine blood analysis serially, to refer it for MRI or CT, to refer it to secondary or tertiary clinicians, and to never give up.
Is that not a problem with medicine per se at the moment? Because we have so much new technology, so many new tests, and sometimes are we not guilty of doing because we can and not because we should?
Yeah, I think it's a big problem across the veterinary world, and the perceived gold standard, particularly driven by insured animals, is skewing it. And you got the phrase exactly right there. What should we do? Not what can we do?
Right.
And that's the thing. And communication again seems to be dropping off the radar. You cannot do a better thing than to communicate well, and particularly communicate honestly with an owner. That is the most important thing for a veterinary surgeon.
Right. Yeah.
I think you're absolutely right. I think did you, just to sort of backtrack a bit, did you go into the RSPCA or leave private practice because you were in any way disillusioned with private practice?
There was some of it there, certainly. The reduced hours of the new job helped as well. As always, there's a better life balance with my current job than with my older one. You're finishing earlier in the day, so you actually have time to have a life outside it, while still being able to do the job in the hours that you are doing. So it's a 5-day-a-week job, but you don't have late evenings with an early finish on another day or one day off in the week to compensate to bring the hours down. And that suits me a lot better. I can come home, indulge in all the various bits and pieces that I want to do, possibly have a rum or two, play squash, sort out a quiz, play some cards, and mostly, which I've been doing a lot more over the last 18 months, when for some reason the pubs have been shut half the time I've gone down there.
That's just Wales for you.
Yeah, that's Wales. That's the new Welsh government bringing in restrictive drinking practices. I think the Americans tried it in the 30s. I think.
Yes,
it didn't go down too well. Yeah, no. You'll start driving around in big flash cars and shooting up places and opening places called speakeasies,
and saying things like, "I trust an Italian to bring a knife to a gunfight."
Yeah.
Yeah,
things like that. Yeah.
So you've mentioned a lot of things there. I mean, we've moved slightly off vetting, which is absolutely fine, John. I've got no problem with that at all. So the whole life-work balance. But we've already ascertained right from the get-go that you have an interest in rum.
I do. I have a big interest in rum. One thing about me, I have a slightly compulsive personality disorder.
So one bottle is not enough. Is this what you're saying?
One bottle is not enough. Not so much one bottle isn't enough. But if I like something, I go into it in excessive depth, shall we say?
I can recognise that, says the man with 15 bicycles.
I can't recognise that. I have none of these tendencies whatsoever.
Really?
None.
Sorry, I thought Julian was going to be on this call.
Obviously, I have 30 or so whiskies and about 30 whiskey books. I have 70 P.G. Wodehouse books and 120 books on Pompeii and Rome. I don't understand what you're talking about, John.
I wouldn't either, because 30 whiskies doesn't constitute a collection, does it?
No,
I've got 64 bottles of gin at home here.
Okay, 60. That's pretty good. I don't think anyone has more than that.
Well,
60. That's huge. John, what do you have? What, a couple of dozen bottles of rum? What are they?
We've cut down recently.
Yeah.
I felt
we've drunk a few.
I have drunk a few. Well, basically, there was a rum month advertised online by the people that wanted to sell rum.
Right.
So, was it endorsed by Alcoholics Anonymous at all? I wonder.
It was, yes. So we took the opportunity of the month to do a taster of a sipping rum and a mixing rum with a different mixer each night over the month. On occasions, Bernice, my wife, was on duty, so I had to pull up the slack from her on that one, which was a tough job.
I think the term is finishing on a double, isn't it?
Yes, that's the one. And once we'd done the month's worth of the rum, we got about 2/3 of the way through the collection with the two a night. So we tried each of the rest of them, and there were a number that had been on the shelf for years, and you thought, I wasn't so keen on that one, that you discover you actually quite like. So we sat down and we went through which ones we were going to keep as a core collection that brought something new and something different to the collection. So that core collection at the moment is currently standing at 57.
All right.
Right, okay. Not many, yeah.
That's the core collection.
That's the core collection. Then you have all the others that you bought to try, or new ones that you're seeing if they join the collection. So we've gone down from just over 100, and we're now down in the 70s.
I think any of us that have got into spirits, whether it be whiskey, rum, or gin, can relate to that, because you get attracted to a particular one, don't you? Whether it's the bottle or the label or the story behind it. And you think, let's go for that. And then it goes to the back of the cupboard because it's all right, but are you going to have that as a general drinking drink?
Yeah. Your general quaff.
Yeah, and it goes to the back of the cupboard, and then you sort of rediscover it a year later and maybe the taste palette has changed or something like that, but I don't know. So yeah, okay, you win. But you mentioned quizzes. Did I hear you say that?
Yes, I've always enjoyed a good quiz.
Right.
Basic general knowledge. Started off with when I was younger with my parents. Trivial Pursuit came out and was greatly enjoyed, which started off the whole thing, and a few other quiz games. And then when I was old enough, at 18, pub quizzes. And
another aside here for our American listeners: the legal age of drinking in the UK is 18, not 21, as many states will have you or restrict you to. Carry on, John. Sorry.
Yeah, so I started going to pub quizzes basically as a social thing, and then I started writing them, which started about 23 years ago.
Wow.
Moved from one pub to another, a few quizzes. At one point we were going to 3 or 4 a week, which was a little excessive, and we had cut back. But for the last 20 years I've been regularly running a pub quiz. I haven't done that, and I'm not sure if I'm going to restart, having done 8 years in the one pub as the sole person week in, week out. It's certainly a big commitment.
Did you not think of doing Zoom quizzes during COVID lockdown?
In fact, John did. John wrote the quiz for the BSAVA Congress.
Oh, right.
Which was the most attended social part of Congress. So thanks, John.
Well done.
No problem.
How fabulous.
Yeah.
So do you have a favourite line of questions or?
Yes, I like questions which people feel they should know the answer, but only 20% of people can remember.
Right.
There are good ones across the board, and if there's people have a particular speciality, like my favourite question, if somebody likes the Beatles, is the Nowhere Man, famous in song.
Mm-hmm.
What was his name?
Mr. Nowhere Man.
Now, the trick to this is it's not mentioned in the song.
Right, so there's no point me humming the song, trying to remember the lyrics.
No,
as we were all doing, and our listeners will be doing now. So
he appears in the film Yellow Submarine, and he's called Jeremy.
You've spoilt it. You could have let that one hang.
So I remember that now. A funny bloke with a big nose, wasn't he? Yeah.
And the flower growing out of his head. Yes. So
okay.
The true or false round I always quite like.
Mm-hmm.
Go on then.
Because you can have a lot of fun with that. I'm the only person I know that's actually done a true or false round where every single answer was false, and another one where every single answer was true.
Right.
Because people presumably will feel reluctant to give the same answer every time. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's only a certain number of ones you haven't a clue whether they're true or false that you're willing to put the same answer for.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite true or false question of all time is true or false. The name dinosaur comes from the Latin meaning terrible lizard. True or false? Everybody puts the same answer.
False. It's false.
It is false. Everybody thinks it's true.
Anyone who speaks Greek would know that the Latin language is not the language it was written in.
Right. Okay.
So the little trick there is everybody hears the terrible lizard, which they've heard of, but nobody notices you said Latin, not Greek.
Right.
Fantastic. I love the one you also ask some blindingly obvious questions, which frighten people because they're too blindingly obvious. And they think there's a catch here.
So, how long was the 6-Day War? Are you willing to put your neck out there?
Is it 6 days, John?
It is 6 days.
Yay!
Which country does the Panama hat come from?
Oh, is it Panama?
It's Ecuador.
Oh. Oh.
Do you see? It's great. If you ask those questions serially, then people are going to be complaining. Oh yeah, oh bugger.
I think I may be the only quizmaster who's asked the quiz question, which great ape has the scientific name gorilla, and had 3 teams put something other than gorilla.
But in fact, it's the lowland gorilla is gorilla, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it was made a major in the army.
I'm wondering here whether I wonder if we could get some feedback from our listeners as to whether they'd like Jon to put some 2 or 3 questions together for us that we could actually use every episode of Veterinary Ramblings, because it sounds like great fun to me.
It's brilliant. Every time Jon comes to stay, he puts my wife and I to complete and utter shame by asking us questions and sitting there smugly with us thinking, oh, I should know this. I don't. And you don't give the answer that you first thought of. And he says, it was the answer you first thought of. And so the next question, you think, I'm confident I know it. So you give the answer.
Nobody'd fall for that.
No.
Nobody would ever fall for that, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
No.
Always.
Ecuador. Ecuador. The Panama hat came from Ecuador.
The reason the Panama hat is called the Panama hat is from the building of the canal, because of the
famous Ecuador Canal.
They imported a whole load of the hats from Ecuador for the workers on the Panama Canal, so everybody saw them in Panama first.
That's an interesting adjunct to the story.
So do you just pick up the facts, or do you ruthlessly and scrupulously investigate encyclopedias and dictionaries to get your questions? Or just sit back and think, what interesting fact did I remember from 15 years ago?
A combination of both. That's why potentially I was thinking of not continuing the pub quiz that I've been doing, because it was getting more of a chore to write the questions rather than an enjoyment.
Right.
When you're enjoying doing it, I have a pad or the iPad next to me when I'm watching the television. A stupid advert comes up, and so right, what is advertised by a Rastafarian milking a giraffe while it eats a cotton candy rainbow? Skittles, it was.
Yeah. And that's come from someone who doesn't even have a television.
You obviously remember that from the last quiz.
Must have done somewhere along the line.
Something comes up in a program you're watching. We'll put that big news story. You write that down and you put it in your quiz 6 months later, and everybody says, "Oh, I remember that being on the news. Oh, I remember," and then they can't remember the details then.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I have to say that Jon wrote. He's written a couple of quizzes for me. So the BSAVA Congress quiz, but also we did a quiz for the Friends of School Association for our school, and had a group of 60 or so people taking part, some of whom did really well and praised me as the quizmaster, and ultimately then Jon for writing it. Others didn't do so well and said, what unfair questions. And I think that's a fairly standard thing, isn't it? If you can answer something, then the questions are great. If you can't, they're unfair.
That's human nature, isn't it?
Do you match the questions to your audience? I mean, you must know them.
You have to. There's no point doing my sort of standard pub quiz for yourself, for example, because you're just not going to get anything, and that's going to it's not going to be fun.
Well, that's it.
Well,
you've got to get
anyway.
some, haven't you? You've got to have a certain probability, likelihood of getting some questions right or wrong. But actually, probability is also your subject, isn't it? Because you're a big poker player.
I do play, well, not a big poker player. I play a reasonable amount, but not at a particularly high level.
Right.
It's a social thing first and foremost, and that's what stops it being a problem. Because it's very, very easy to lose a lot of money in poker. To me, you cannot gamble with something that you couldn't afford to lose by dropping it down the drain somewhere.
Yeah.
I have a friend who he and his wife, their income is gambling, or at least he is the money earner, and his income is gambling.
Wow.
And twice they've moved into houses of £1.5 million houses, amazing places, and lost them and moved back to the semi-detached that he keeps in reserve.
Yeah.
And they both accept that. There's going to be good days, going to be bad days, but as long as they've got something in reserve, then they're okay. I would hate to live like that.
I couldn't. I know. I play poker a lot, and it's with a group of friends every time. I've occasionally been to the casinos. I went out to Las Vegas, and I came back with more money than I went after 5 days of gambling out there.
Wow,
which was nice.
That's pretty good going, isn't it? Fantastic.
So was that playing poker? That was playing poker in Vegas?
That was mostly poker, but it was only on a very small scale.
Right.
Most people think of the 10,000 buy-in tournaments and this sort of thing when they think of Vegas, but
most people think of what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas and finding some sort of hookup.
Yeah, not expecting to hear it broadcast on Veterinary Ramblings. Yeah,
oops, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, so I got lucky. You have to have the run of the cards because you can work out how to play. There's different styles of play. You can read your opponent really, really well. You can get them in with a 90% chance of winning the hand, and then the wrong card turns up and you've lost everything. So you have to have a little bit of luck as well. And I was on a good run that week. I took part in 8 tournaments, which were $50 to buy in, so nothing big.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 4 wins, 1 second, and a third. These were only about sort of 20 or 30 people, but you're picking up $550 for first, 300 for second, a couple of hundred for third.
Wow!
So I was well up on that, and I also came back with more money on the slot machines.
Oh, okay.
Which was it was purely to do with jet lag. We'd gone out there, and the first morning everybody had woken up at 4:00 and couldn't get back to sleep. So eventually we gave up and went, had breakfast, and headed off down the strip and so on. And
4:00, they're still operating, aren't they? 4:00 in the morning.
Round the clock, you can do anything. Anything at any time. Apparently,
is it really?
Yeah. The first time I went to Vegas, because that's where the Western show, the Veterinary, the big Western American veterinary show is.
Oh, is it?
I've been a couple of times, and as you say, you wake up at 4 a.m., don't you? Because that's your wake up time. And I thought, well, let's go and see what's happening. And I wandered down and through the hotel down to the lobby, which is the gambling area, and the slot machines were still going. There were people sort of sitting there, still crazed from the night before. They've been up all night because there's no natural light in there. It's all artificial light. It's all artificial atmosphere. So you get no hints as to what time of day it is. And they're just putting coin after coin after coin into the slot machine.
And extra oxygen pumped into the atmosphere to keep you awake.
Yeah.
Is that right? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a money making machine, isn't it?
Of course it is. And they work on the tiniest of margins.
Yeah.
And on roulette, their margin is the 0 and the 00. So 2 in 38 to take all the money off people. Because if it's just the 1 to 36, every bet in the end will come out evens. But that tiny percentage of having the 2 zeros, which take everybody's money if that comes up, is enough to keep the roulette wheels spinning.
Gosh, so they're not, well, they're clearly making money, aren't they? They're making a huge amount of money.
They are.
But they're not doing it in an unfair way. They're doing it in a way...
Unless your roulette wheels are rigged, but that doesn't happen in the main things in Vegas anymore, and that's the old mafia run ones back in the day. But yes, everything is scrupulously checked and rechecked and rechecked, and overseen by the casino staff and also the gambling board. So yeah, you're perfectly safe in any of the casinos in Vegas.
Yeah, unless you're victims of your own obsession for gambling.
Exactly.
And that's where the big problem is. We're talking here about having a great deal of fun and you coming out ahead, and that's brilliant. But Mike mentioned then people who've been there all night, and there are people, we have to say, who have a gambling dependency, a gambling addiction. And that similarly to us joking about the rum and the whiskey and the gin and all that, we should say that there are people who suffer and struggle with all of these things, and for these people who there are helpful organisations, but often those people are not able to seek help for that. It's fair enough to say, isn't it? But you've managed to set strict limits for yourself, and adhere to those, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? I think all the gambling adverts say very quickly at the end of the advert, when the fun stops, stop.
Yes.
But you've got to go in knowing that, haven't you? You've got to go in thinking, okay,
and when I went out to
when
Vegas,
I reach £5 or $5 or whatever, I'm stopping, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I went out to Vegas, and basically I'd saved up for 2 or 3 years. Every time I won some money at the poker, at either the 2 local pubs or pubs and clubs I play with friends, I put that into a bank account. That's my money for Vegas. That I can afford to go out there and lose. And if I lose it all, it doesn't matter, because I put it aside for that experience specifically. And yes, I picked up on the poker, the slot machines. I was basically using them to stop going to bed, something to do, because there was no other poker events starting at the time. So I thought I'd try the slot machines. And I put in $20. And what they do with the winnings is it's printed out on a chitty that you then have to go and collect. So it's more likely that you put it back in. So I won $30. I put in a 20 and won 60. Put in another 20 and lost it. And then obviously it's still 7:30 and the other 2 had gone to bed. So I put one of them back in and the machine started flashing, and it was a mini jackpot of $1,500.
Bloody
wow. Mini jackpot.
Yes. Well, the reason I'd chosen this machine is it was only 25 cents a go, and that gave you all 5 lines. So, because some of them are $10, $20 a spin.
But presumably you can win a lot more with that.
You can win, yes. There's a rolling one in Vegas, which you can see because they're connected between all the casinos. And the jackpot you can see going up, and it probably takes about a second to put $50 onto it, and it's going up constantly because it's all the money that's earned across the whole of the strip.
Wow.
So obviously everybody, just before you leave to go to the airport, right, let's just see if this works. And somebody will be getting multiple millions from that when it does pay out.
Yeah. And that's sheer luck, isn't it?
There's nothing you can do that. It's just sheer luck. Roulette is sheer luck the same, and you can have all sorts of betting patterns. You can see what's turned up, but just because 8 reds have turned up in a row makes no difference as to the odds of the next one being red. No,
one red doesn't know that another one's turned up before, does it? John, what are you pouring now, John?
I'm going Venezuelan.
Venezuela.
Pardon?
This one.
So this is a Diplomatico Venezuelan rum from 2005.
It's a single vintage, which Diplomatico have started doing. They're a particularly good company. They do add a chunk of sugar to a number of their rums, which is frowned on by some members in the rum community. But most of the rum community is, if you like it, drink it. If you don't like it, don't drink it. If you like something that's expensive, bad luck. If you like something that's cheap and nasty, good luck for you.
Sounds like my sort of society. That does.
I like that.
I like the sound of this. Let's not go.
I'm going to pour myself a rum now. I'm going to pour myself this rum here. Have you had this rum?
Bruegel 1818. I've had that on a number of occasions.
Yeah, Bruegel 1818, 1888. Yeah. So now there are two interesting things about this rum. One is I've never had it before. The second interesting thing is this was going to be your birthday present, John. Sorry, I'm drinking it now because I figured we might be talking about rum, and I didn't have this.
Julian, you'd better give it a very flowery description so that John can enjoy his presents vicariously.
Is it from Dominica or Dominican Republic?
It was a Grand Reserva. Gosh, I didn't know they did Grand Reservas of rum. It's what is it? I'm trying to find it. Where would it say Dominican? Scotland. Oh, that's imported by the Dominican Republic. You're absolutely right. Man knows his rums.
Well, he obviously does, but I do feel rather bad. And if you want to cry, John, then that's absolutely perfectly acceptable because I think this is outrageous behaviour by Jim.
It's disgraceful. I may have to have a run to keep me calm.
Now,
cheers.
Yeah. So what rum are you having?
That's the Diplomatic. You said, what are you drinking?
Oh, that one there, yes.
And then I showed you the bottle we chatted about.
I thought you finished that. I thought it was months ago.
That's not called distraction, Julian. That's called not paying attention. So tell John in flowery descriptive terms how wonderful his birthday present was going to be if he actually received it before you opened it and drank it in front of him.
I think you really, really have liked this, John. It's got a toffee flavour, a really sort of buttery toffee flavour. The nose, do you still call it a nose when it's rum?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
The same as we still call it hair.
And now that's a bit.
No, you deserve this. You deserve this.
It's not. So the previous rums that you've given me, I've described as a sort of Christmas cake or Christmas pudding rums because they've had lots of spice and herbs. And this isn't that.
Was that one that you described as paint stripper one that John gave you?
Yeah, that was that.
Don't mention it.
Yeah,
don't
say that was
no.
We use that to preserve our shed, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that was a very nice rum, but I drank it and filled it with paint strippers.
Yes.
No, it's interesting. The nose gives nothing of the taste for this rum. It's quite a sharp smell. I can smell cloves. I can smell some herbs, and it almost smells like juniper, but not quite. But the taste is very different. The taste is buttery and toffee.
There seems to be a large difference between the nose and the taste in rum than there is in whiskey.
Right. So why is that?
It's because there's a better quality of spirit drunk by better people.
If you are Scottish, then please don't respond to that.
I've moved on.
Oh.
That's Angostura.
Angostura, okay.
Is it Angostura as in the Angostura bitters?
Of the bitters fame, yes.
Oh, okay.
So are the bitters made from rum?
No, they are distilled essences of various herbs, spices, and whatever else goes into it. It's just the company also makes rum because they happen to be in Trinidad and Tobago. And if you're in there, and you've got this distilling set, you may as well make some rum.
May as well.
I don't actually believe you because the label's the right size.
Okay, how about if I do it here? Is it smaller now?
Oh yeah, that's better. Yeah, actually, that looks really good because it looks like the dragon's actually having a sip.
It does, doesn't it? There's a dragon drinking rum. So for listeners rather than viewers, Jon has held the bottle away from the camera, and it actually went towards the dragon's mouth, which burst into flames.
Yeah,
oddly enough.
And that's why you should watch Veterinary Ramblings and not just listen.
Absolutely, you've missed a whole heap of special effects there. So flames were literally coming out of the dragon's mouth and nose. They scorched the wall, Jon's wall, and the carpet. Jon's now battling with a fire extinguisher, putting the flames out. He's got badly burned, but he's all right. Yeah. He's applying a bandage now, and he's back with us. Are you all right, Jon?
I'll survive. Thank you.
Great, good. Are you in a fit condition to be able to give us some CPD? Do you think?
Just let me check.
Jon's taking a sip of drink.
Yes.
Good.
Excellent.
Good.
So, hang on. I haven't got the clock ready yet. What are you going to give us 60 seconds worth of CPD on, Jon?
Well, the suggestion from your co-presenter was to talk about how to start out on drinking rum.
How to start out on drinking rum.
If you're new to rum, if you've never had rum before, not even having bought a nice bottle for a friend for his birthday and drunk it.
So we have a reputable 25-year qualified vet who works on the sharp edge of shelter medicine. Mm-hmm. And making difficult decisions
every day
while staying deadpan and earning money also on the side playing poker in Vegas. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk to us about how to start drinking rum.
Yes.
Excellent. I like this. Okay. This is my sort of CPD.
All right then, Jon. So here we go then. You have 60 seconds on how to start drinking rum starting now.
So rum is a spirit made originally from molasses, but now also from sugarcane juice and syrup. Forget the color of the rum, it means nothing. You have dark rums that are sugary and bland, and some white rums that have a very deep, complex flavor. Each area of the world has its unique flavor of rum, and that is the best way to group the rums. With the flavor triangle of spirits, rum takes the middle ground flavor-wise, with certain styles of rums appealing more to drinkers of certain spirit types. Centrally, you've got the Spanish style and Barbados rums. Those are your best starters to try. The next stage depends on which other spirits you like. If you like mezcal and tequilas, then head for the rums from ex-French colonies like Martinique or Haiti, or even from Brazil. If you like gin or vodka, move towards the lighter Cuban, Puerto Rican style rums. If whiskeys and brandies are your thing, then move towards the heavier Jamaican, Guyanese or Navy style rums. If you don't like spirits, sweeter honey rums or flavored rum liqueurs are also around, but buy the best quality you can afford because that will be nicer to drink.
There we go.
Wow, and you have nailed it. Fantastic.
60 seconds. How superb was that?
You know, that's one of the best we've had. That's fantastic.
Well, I sort of want to go down to the supermarket now and get some rum.
Some supermarkets have a better range than others.
Indeed, they do.
Come right here, Mike. Tomorrow I've got some.
Oh, okay. I'll pop over. Yeah, no problem. Yeah. Well, we're allowed to do that now.
We are. Yeah.
That sort of stuff. Yeah. I'll raise a glass to that, but I haven't got a glass here.
Go quick, get a glass.
Sorry, you've come to Veterinary Ramblings without a glass. Yeah. And all of the research I've done on Veterinary Ramblings, and you come without a glass.
The program where we first describe Negronis as a breakfast drink.
No, it's because I was late and I've left it in the kitchen.
Oh, quick, you better get it. That pretty much wraps it up, doesn't it? As a full ramble. That's great.
On that note, come on, guys. So listen.
On that bombshell.
Yeah. Did you do a CPD certificate for us tonight? So yeah, we need a certificate so that we can present this to the RC. To
the RC, yes, because this counts probably as CPD. Yeah. So here we go. Now,
what we got?
Explain this. It says certificate of rum, fun, and banjo.
Oh, right, okay.
It says, this certifies that once again, we have slid down the greasy pole of our own depravity. Well, I hope you're happy. And there's a little picture there. So this is a picture here of a Scottish malt whiskey,
all right,
being used in a well-known Scottish dessert.
Anakin.
Absolutely, because of course you can cook with Scotch whiskey. There's also
and
a
with
picture
rum.
here. No. We'll get on to that in a minute. There's also a picture of part of Northumberland called Ginhead.
Oh, I'll raise a glass to that.
Well, you can go on holiday with gin. So I'm a whiskey drinker, and vicariously with Mike, I'm a gin drinker. Mike's a gin drinker, and vicariously with me, he's a whiskey drinker. Now you're a rum drinker, and I found some recipes actually in a recipe book, which is the best place to find recipes, isn't it? Using rum, and it's called Cooking with Poo. I don't want to mention more about it, but I just think there's Ginhead. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. Cooking with Poo is a fantastic.
We haven't talked about poo
Malaysian.
tonight. I know we normally talk about
Thai.
Veterinary show, but we haven't discussed poo tonight. Anyway, carry on.
Poo. Moving on to the other side, there's a picture of me doing a full body chimney climb in your house or outside your house.
I was just going to say that's outside my house,
yes.
Outside my front door.
A few years back. And if I could move up there to a picture of you hanging from a rock in the Peak District, and this was flying buttress direct, which was a hell of a climb, wasn't it?
It's a tricky odd number.
It's a tricky odd number. We both share climbing as a hobby, as a sport, a bit of fun. And we also share, there's a little picture in the middle here, Asterix. We all share, or both share, a love of Asterix books. And do you, Mike? Are you an Asterix reader? Can I get you into it? It's really good fun. Yeah, maybe.
Can I just say that Asterix, as a comic, is one very, very good. Up until Asterix and the Black Gold, or after Asterix and the Black Gold, it has gone downhill a tad, in my opinion.
Well, unfortunately, one of the comic writing team passed away, and
that's just selfish.
Right.
Went downhill. Yeah.
It went downhill after. But there is actually a lot of very good general knowledge and fact hidden in Asterix. I have read them hundreds of times and can quote quite a lot about all of it. And
we do when we get together.
Exactly. There are a number of pub quiz questions over the years that I've not known the answer, but I've guessed based on bits and pieces in Asterix, such as which of the Gaulish people did Julius Caesar say were the most difficult to fight against? And based on
Asterix, the Belgians, weren't they?
Asterix in Belgium, it was the Belgians. And so, yeah, there's a lot of actual knowledge hidden in those. So secret learning.
Which ancient tribe knew no fear? Or which ancient peoples knew no fear?
We know no fear. Well, that would be the Spanish.
And other than the fear of flying, knew no fear other than the fear of flying.
Other than the fear of flying, that would be Mr. T in the A-Team.
I was thinking of the Normans.
Right. Well,
you're right, fool.
On that surreal note, I'm ever sorry to say this to you, John, but Julian likes to tell a joke on the show.
Well, he says it's a joke.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, this is a problem.
I've humoured him now for on 60 episodes, so I'm not going to change now. And so if you like what you've heard or seen, don't forget to click like, share it with friends, or even subscribe and catch up with us on Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, or your favourite podcast download. Julian, tell us the end of the show joke.
Well, we spoke a lot about Jon's various jobs, of which there are only two, to be honest, but various they may be. And it made me think, actually, that there's a certain aspect of work, isn't there, of employment, of job integrity and willingness to work. And there's a joke about that, which is Paddy phoning his boss one morning and saying, "Oh, do you know, I got the world's worst headache this morning. I won't be in work. I don't feel well at all." And the boss says, "Paddy, it's a busy day. I'd really like you to work." "I got the headache and everything. I can't work." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what I do. When I have a headache in the morning, I have a bath, and then I have a little half glass of champagne, and then I make love to my wife, and I invariably feel better. Give it a go." And so an hour later, Paddy phones him and says, "Do you know," he says, "you're a miracle worker. It worked. I had a bath and I had a little half glass of champagne. And I have to say, you've got a lovely house."
And on that note, may your dog go with you.
May your dog go with
May
you.
your dog go with you.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Jon.
There you go. And cut.
And cut. I could talk to you all night, to be honest with you, and enjoy every minute. It's been an absolute blast, and I really appreciate you joining us on the show.